So hey guys, my name is Daniel, and I'll be explaining the purpose of why we created this YouTube video. It's mainly for job screening automation. That means if a company or individual has a screen that they want to do, that means you want to screen in or out participant that are applying for a role or a job, then this automation makes it much more easier. All the person has to do is fill up a form, and then the person gets an email notifying them if they are in or out. So that is basically how it works, and it works based on the requirement that is being set. So we use Google Form to input. That means the applicant fill up the Google Form, then from there it gets stored up in Google Sheets. And from Google Sheets we extract it to anything where the filtering is being done. So it's being filtered based on the requirement. The requirements we used were email, age, phone name, skills, and availability. Availability means full-time, remote, or hybrid. So if the applicant is between the ages of 25 to 34 and less than 35 years, 23, yeah, it should be 23 to 35 years. Within that range, then the applicant qualifies. They have to be available full time, and they have to have at least six of some of the skills that we need. So the skill you see it in the tutorial video when I'm explaining. You see some of the skills of what some of the requirements of the skills that is needed. And I know for the stuff we did, we make sure that it is less than that the applicant has over six of the skills. So depending on what your company or brand wants or individual wants, that you decide whichever one, whichever requirement or criteria that you want that suits your own best interest. So without wasting most of our time, let's just dive into the tutorial video. So or before that, let me show you let me just show you how it's been done, like a practical example. Yeah, when I'll not show you how the flow works. So yeah, thank you, and let's get right into it. So okay, let me just explain the whole process to you. So like I said before, we already have a criteria that one has to meet before you qualify for the role of this operation manager. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same criteria. Different companies can use different criteria or requirements as long as it suits the purpose of which they want it to be. So for our requirements, I stated it earlier, so you already know what the requirement for this operation manager role is. So when you click on the form, this is exactly what you see, and then from there you input your email, full name, age, years of experience, and skills. And don't forget, everything already has its own requirements right from time. So once I submit this thing, based on that requirement, is what I'll be able to know if I qualify or not. So if I get an email, I qualify, but if there's no email, then I do not qualify. And since I already told you guys the requirement for this thing, so all I'll just do is click on the submit button. So once I click on the submit button to tell me that a form has been submitted. So yeah, so once this is done, so the next thing I'll need to do is to confirm for my email. So yeah, I think it will take like maybe 30 seconds before it gets confirmed. So let's check the email for that. So as you can see, this is it here, and so you can see the message here. FEB, thank you for applying to the manager position. We are pleased to inform that your application has been successfully reviewed and it meets our initial qualification criteria. So basically, that's just how it works. If I did not qualify, or if I've used a lesser age, or my experience was less, the skill I chose did not meet the requirement, automatically I get disqualified. So this saves us a lot of time when it comes to job interview or screening. It's to remove so many participants because, like I said, it's just make sure everything goes favorable and it's neutral, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's just how it works. So okay guys, let me put you through the whole workflow process on how I built the job screening um automation. So as usual, at first I decided to think of what role should I use, then I thought of operation manager role due to the requirements, so it's been much more easier to build. And just like I said before, said all company have their different requirements. So depending on the requirement is how you design your form for it. So first thing I did was email. I made the email compulsory. That means this, just like I added this first name here, where I now put on the requirement required. So that means it's very compulsory for each other. So that means if you don't answer the question, you don't move on. And then I made a short answer. You can have a long paragraph, multiple choice checkbox, drop down, and file upload in case you want to submit your CV, or rating, multiple, whichever one you will date and time, whichever one you prefer to use. So since I'm using Finim, I decided to use short answer text for it. And the next thing I did was after the email, full name, age, years of experience as an operation manager, then skill. Just like with this skill, I made it just like I explained before, checkbox. I made the checkbox because I needed um to make sure the applicants take whichever one they want for it. And the last one is availability, which is full-time, remote, or hybrid. So just like I use checkbox for that one, I use multiple choice for this. And after that, that's all for the form. So if you're building your own different, depend on the criteria or requirements that you want, you can add more to it, or you can choose whichever one you want to it. When I was being, I decided to add in file upload, which they can use to submit it. I just felt like since I would just be making a tutorial on it, then instead of going through that whole long process of having to upload and all that, there's no need for me to do that. So that's why I left that. So in case it's been for a company or for whichever brand or for yourself, yeah, you can decide to add file upload or whichever one you use. There's also if you want someone to watch a video, you can add video to it, images, whichever one you want. So that's what you can do. So once an applicant fill this form and the press on submit, then once it is submitted, it automatically goes um to Google Sheets. And how I did that is, as usual, I used anything to do that. So I added an anything trigger. So what the trigger means is that I've once it sends it. Okay, before that, the first thing I did before that was to link the form to Google Sheets. That means once the person sends the form, I linked it straight to Google Sheets. That means it upload automatically on Google Sheets. And let me show you how I did that. So all I just did was I went to response, then yeah, this view in sheets. I think before I started adding the old thing there, it was sign in to sheets. I think sign in. So all I did was signed in. So anytime someone fills it, it automatically uploads in Google Sheets. So that's how I was able to get build that sheet. So all you just have to do is send it to the sheet, and I send it as usual as the same way I sent it to the I signed up for the form, which I used my Gmails to sign up for it. So after it uploads automatically on Google Sheets, I mean whichever anytime someone fills a form and it uploads automatically on Google Sheets, what's the next thing I will need to do is to use a trigger node. When you're starting a workflow, you use a trigger node or webhook, whichever one, a webhook trigger. So you start with the trigger node, and the I wanted it to check every minute. That means every time it uploads, I wanted it to check every minute. So first thing I did was to connect to my Google Sheet account, which create new credential, then connect it to my. I used Gmail to connect since I already used I created the Google Sheet through my Gmail. So automatically I just connected my Gmail to it straight up, and it brought out my credentials. So I wanted it to check every minute. Then after that, the the document that I wanted it to upload, that I wanted to extract, it is the name of the file is Operation Manager. That is Operation Manager role for job screening. That was the name I gave it. And from the sheet, that's the name of the document, and the sheet is form response one. Let me show you here. Um, so we have the name of the sheet is form response one. That is the form response one, and we have the name of the document, which is Operation Manager role job screening form, as you can see it on top. So I was able to bring out the whole thing. So after I brought out that, so when is it supposed to trigger? He said it should trigger when a row is added. The row is not going to be updated, or it's not going to be not going to be added or updated. It's only going to be added. So whenever a row is added, and whenever someone fills the form, that is when it should trigger this node. That's when it should trigger the workflow. So whenever it triggers, then I used an if node. Now the if node now starts when the conditions become in place. That means the requirements was the reason why I used an if node. So if the requirement is between this age and this age, continue the flow. If not, don't do nothing, stop the operation and all that. So in this scenario here, if I was bidding for a company, like if it's not just running, if I was bidding for a standard company, then I would have sent an email if the company agrees to that, or if it's part of the requirement. So if time someone doesn't fulfill, like doesn't meet the requirement, all I would do is just send an email to the person or Gmail, sorry, you did not meet up the requirement, or depending on how the thing goes. So instead of this no operation or do nothing, I'd have added the Gmail for you to send a Gmail to the person's email for it. So I added an if node. So what the if node did is to state the condition. So I said if the JSON age, that means the age. If the age, the reason why is not bringing out the data at this input level is because I've already made it active. So that's the reason why. So if not, you'd have seen the whole format here. And so it said if JSON age is greater than or equal to 23. So that means for the person to qualify, the person age has to be greater or equal to 23, and the age has to be less than 35. So that means the person has to be between 23 and 34. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Like if it's less than 34, the less than 35 is 34. So that is greater or equal to 23. And if I would have used or, that means it would have been any of these variables. But I wanted it to be, and so that means and join it together. So that means greater is greater than or equal to 23 years old, and has to be less than 35 years. Because if I say or, that means even if the person is over that, it will still continue the condition. So that's why I had to use and then I put another condition again, and I said if the years of experience is greater than 4, continue the flow. So that means we used three conditions here. The first one was the two age, and the last one was the years of experience. So the first one, if the age of the applicant is greater than or equal to 23, continue the flow. And if the age of the person is less than 35, between these two, continue the flow. And the last condition is if the years of experience is greater than 4, then continue the process. So basically that was the first if that we did. I could actually have done all the ifs in one. That means all the condition, all the requirements. I could have added more to it. Like I should have added another condition, but I wanted it to be easier for me when I'm explaining. So instead of writing all the conditions together, I decided to just split it into two ifs. So once the flow continues, if the person meets requirements, then the person goes to the next flow, which is the second if condition, that means the if node. And then that condition states that. So for me to do that, I had to ask ChatGPT to actually compose one for me. That means a JSON format that make sure that the participant, the skills requirement that are being listed, the participant has up to 5 of it. If it is more than 5, it passes. If it is less than 5, it fails. So just I was able to compose. I told it the skills I wanted, like this is the skills I need from it from the applicant, and then it should filter it from the main all the skills that are listed in the form. So if the participant has more than 5 of it, it passes. The participant passes the screening. But if it's less than 5, that means participant fails the screening. So what it gave me was skills. I put it everything lower letter. It says in the form there everything was in lower letter. So I make sure that okay, even if the applicant types everything in capital letter or whatever it might be, it makes sure that it converts everything to lowercase letter. And then you should filter it from the main skill. So when it's being popped up in anything, the title comes in as skill. So you should filter it from the main skill. And the main what I'm actually looking for is project management. That means the skills the person must have was project management, process optimization, budget management, leadership, risk management, data analysis, Microsoft Office, Google, and Google Workspace. So these are all the skills that it should be. It's not about single checking. So the length, that means the person has to have more than 6. Like I said, it's just trial and doesn't have to be necessary. It depends on what you want to do. So now the condition I put it has to be 6. That means the thing has to be the person has to have 6 of these skills, or at least 6 or more than that of these skills for the person to qualify. So the all the skills, like from what I mean is these are the skills here, and then all the skills are. Let me show you all the skills. So and these are all the skills. The skills are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are 12 skills. So the person has to have at least 6 for the person to pass. And the skills are the 6 skills are what are being listed here. That means budget management, leadership, risk management, data analysis, Microsoft Office, Google Workspace, and Google Workspace. So these are all the skills that the person must have to qualify. So if the person doesn't choose Microsoft Office in the form, automatically the person gets disqualified. So even if the person chooses everything in the skills format but leaves out Microsoft Office, automatically disqualification. So those are the conditions I put. And I said if this condition contains true, that means if the applicant, when the person fill this form, it's actually contains true, that means it is true. That means, well, let me just explain it in this. If after the person makes this condition and then you find out okay, this person made the condition, that means the condition is true, maintain continue the workflow. And also if the availability, like I said, the availability is just full-time, remote, and hybrid. So if the availability is equal to full-time, that means if the person choose full-time, continue the workflow. So those are the two extra conditions like I did. Like I said before, I would have added and these two availability and these two conditions to the previous if, making everything just one if node, and the thing will just immediately filter whether the applicant qualifies or not, depending on the requirement. That means depending on the what requirement is being set. So these are the 5 conditions that are used to screen the participants for it. So all you just have to do, if I would have, if it was actually in a testing mode, that means if I did not make it active, all I just done was to drag and drop. That means you just drag it and you drop the availability, you see um all the list here. So that's how it works. And for you to actually understand what I mean by drag and drop, I know I did a recent video on how to use anything to the drag and drop. I did like 2 different videos that has that example in it. So I think it's much more easier in case you're finding hard that okay, how did he drop that availability there? You can just check the video. It's not actually taking much of your time. Just a few minutes, I'll be able to understand what I mean by that. So basically that is just how I did that. So if the person passed the first condition, yep, continues to the next one. If the person doesn't pass, its operation fails, do nothing. Like I said, I could have ordered the Gmail depending on what the conditions are. The second one, if those 2 conditions, if you meet up the skill requirement and availability, you continue to the next step, which is Gmail. So from the Gmail, you now send a congratulation message to the person. And how to do that, you just go to your Google, you connect your Google account. That means through Gmail again. That's the same way to do it. It makes it easier for me as I do that. Instead of using API or other stuff like that. So just connecting to Gmail just makes it easier for me. So what I want to do is send a message. So I don't want to label a draft or thread. I just want to send a message to the applicant, and that is send. So I'm not deleting, I just want to send. I'm not replying or remove label, no, or mark as I just want to send. And then the what I'm sending to is the person. No, in the form there, the person has an email address. So all I have to do is drag and drop the email address here, and then the subject, the one that composed it myself. So I said the applicant, the application for the operation manager role, next step. So I set it as HTML because it's when composing the text form, it makes it much easier for including space. If I want to add space in between, if I wanted to put in links, so HTML makes it much more easier. We have HTML and we have text, but HTML is much more easier. Text is actually the way, if you don't want, if you just want to send a simple text, is so much easier. But if you're adding extra details there, then HTML is what is like a professional level email. Then HTML is what you use for it. So these are there. Then the Google name, the full name. Thank you for applying for the operation room. I've been introduced technology. We are pleased to inform you that your applicant has success. So this was the message I composed, and after that is done, once it sends the email out, and then forward it to Google Sheets. Now the reason why I did this is I'm using Google Sheet again. Is the first one that he entails only has not gone through the screening. So that means when he enters the first Google Sheet, we've not done any screening yet. So it's more like it composes of everybody that fills the form. So the second sheet is only for those that qualify. So I sent it to the Google Sheet, and how I did that was all I did was just adding a new sheet. That means this add sheet, I had a new sheet and I named it um, qualified candidate. So that means only those that are qualified fits into this row. So that means it contains details of everybody that are qualified. So if later on you want to have the details of those that are qualified, you can just come to this qualification candidate section. So it has a list of only those that are qualified. The first list only has the details of everybody that filled the form. So basically here it should be quite the list here will be long, and it should be a long list because it comprises of everybody. But the second list, which is the qualified candidate list, has only those that qualify. So it makes it easier for you to just say, okay, let me just get this person details from the Google Sheet, and all you're also looking for is the name of those that qualified. So in case you have any future thing you want to send to them, like the day of the meeting, it will be so much easier to just take only the information instead of having to scale through all those available and start looking for names. That would be much more stressful. So that's why I did it like that. So once that is done, um, just like I done, so you create um Google Sheet. So you append, you want to append row, that means you're creating a new row, that's append row. And then from document, just like we did before, you choose the place you want, the document you want, which is operation manager document. The sheet, now we're no more using operation form, we're using qualified candidate. That was the name we gave it. So that's where you should store those are qualified list. And what should you send to the list? The email address, full name, age, years of experience, skill, and availability. So those are all the things that we're sending. So if you would have added more options, you send those options to the Google Sheet. So basically that is the workflow of how I built the job scheduling application automation. So and it's much more easier if you have other ideas or if you have your criteria or requirements already on ground. So it makes it so much easier. So all the person has to just fill the form and automatically filters those that you want from those that you don't want. So it saves lots of time and effort or anything manual instead of going through. So you just have only the important people detail that you feel like fits the description or the requirement that you chose yourself. So basically I just sit and yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. I really do appreciate you guys taking your time to come here, and do have a lovely day. Bye.